Alright, so doing brake pads, rotors, calipers, and just for preventative maintenance or measure the main hose that goes from the line to the caliper on the driver's side, which would be the left. That's what the L at the end there indicates. And the other side, the passenger side, is the right side in North America, or countries that drive on the left side of the road, not the right. To get this out, you're gonna need some needle nose pliers to pull the retention pin from the caliper. You're gonna need a decent 11mm socket to loosen all of your lines, and you're gonna need a that's the SAE, we need a metric. You're gonna need a 7mm key to loosen the caliper bolts here and here. Now these come with covers, make sure you don't lose them. They look something like this, although I would recommend keeping the originals, which have like a little tab that makes them a little bit easier to pull out. So basically you're looking at about 3 to 5 minutes to pop the center cap off the wheel, loosen the lug nuts, or the lug bolts, jack it up, and then finish removing the bolts, jack the car up the rest of the way. I would recommend loosening the main line that goes to the caliper before loosening the 7mm hex bolts all the way. And then you're also going to need a set of pads. I opted for these medium grade Bosch. They mainly because they include the sensor here, which you should find hanging somewhere around right here. Now the only thing I haven't figured out is why this has 3 plugs or 3 pins and this only has 2, but well, we'll find out. They look like they match up. And just in case you're wondering, this is part number, well, let's see here, 141.33072, and that is for the left or driver's side on a left-hand drive Audi A6 C4 chassis. So we're going to go ahead and continue the removal process here. Pull the caliper, undo the lines. Another thing, you really need to, before you even get started with all the heavy wrenching, spray this down with something like this WD-40 Specialist penetrating oil, or if you have like CRC penetrating oil or something of that type, just to make sure that these are nice and loose, because these clips that hold the hose in place, they are really fragile after a while, or after just poor removal or install. So something you want to be aware of. And don't forget, you have another one up here as well, so make sure you hit that one. It's just by the inner side of the wheel well. And we'll go ahead and continue doing this. And for, well, a 26-year-old car, it's not bad. Just a little bit of Michigan corrosion there. Otherwise, everything looks fairly good. Alright, so let's pause for now, and we'll continue once we got this off. Alright, we're almost ready to pop this off. A couple other handy little tips. Keep an oil pan, oil drain pan handy, just because you might have some brake fluid that's going to leak. And even though you have a good jack, or what you think is a good jack, or however you do it, I would always recommend putting some sort of brace. I like to use a couple pieces of heavy duty wood on the frame, and that way at least you're safe and secure, making sure it's not gonna slide or fall off on you. Don't forget to put the parking brake on. And also a handy way to get to these, most people start the job with the wheels straight. If you turn them to the side that you need to get access to these two caliper bolts on, if you turn them outward on the driver's side and then outward on the passenger side, it makes accessing these bolts a heck of a lot easier, and it gives you a whole lot of extra room here, as opposed to trying to reach back there and turn the key that way. Now, another thing, if you're buying the calipers, a lot of times they do not come with the brackets, so I would just say clean them off. Maybe use a grinder and clean them off. Use some high temp paint, because you're going to be changing the rotor anyway, so go ahead and paint them, but that's going to add an extra couple hours to a day just to let that kind of cure. But it, you know, could make your caliper and brake look a little fancier if you want. Otherwise, while you're in here, you can check your wheel bearings, just check for any movement or play. You can check your CV boots here. Like, as you can see, I replaced the whole CV axle all the way to the transmission there, or the gearbox. So that's all brand new. Any other little tips I can think of? You're going to have a new bleeder screw on your caliper, so you don't have to worry about cleaning or loosening that. And that should be roughly it for safety tips. Now, I like to just take a big screwdriver once I got this loose and just kind of pry. And as you can see, it's already coming loose off of there. Same thing from the bottom, if you can get in there. That's going to be a little trickier. If you overdo it on the top part. There we go. See, now it's loosening up. Now make sure you're not doing like what I'm doing and holding the camera while you're doing this, because you don't want to snap these brake lines, because then you're going to be making some new ones. Alright, so let's pause this while I remove it, and maybe have something that you can temporarily set the caliper on while you loosen the brake lines. Alright, also before you start pulling the brake lines, unscrew your reservoir here so that basically you don't have to bleed it any more than you have to. I would just fill that up to the top, and that way whatever leaks out hopefully keeps it below the minimum, and then that way you have to just top it off and you don't have to bleed the entire system. Alright, let's continue on here. Don't forget, Audi and like my Porsche, they use .4 or .5. Do not use .3. I believe it says so specifically right there. Caution. Yeah, basically .4. So we're gonna top this up. And then we're gonna carry on. Okay, another reason I'm making the video is if you don't do this every day, you forget things like, okay, so you got the caliper bolts loose, you've got your brake line loose and out right here, and then you remember that there is a 13 millimeter bolt right here on a retention assembly that holds the line to the caliper. So that has to come off before anything else can continue. So hopefully these little tips and reminders help. I mean, I used to be able to do this blindfolded in 20 minutes or less. And, well, as you get older, you kind of forget some of the little tricks and things and sockets and whatnot. So hopefully, when I get this all pieced together, it'll help some people out. Because I know these cars are great. I mean, if you look at my engine compartment, this is all still bone stock, original. Really nice. I mean, I've got well over 200,000 miles on it and still love this car. I don't want to get rid of it just because I like it so much. So let's continue on. I'll loosen this and we'll finally get the caliper off. Okay, so as you can see, that's that stubborn 13 millimeter bolt right here that was holding this up. So now that we got it off, we've got this whole line assembly off, and that's the one that carries the hose that goes to the caliper to the line. So now, and as you can see, we're dripping a lot. That's why I had recommended you get a oil drain pan or something to kind of keep it from leaking too much. And we'll just put that up here, and hopefully we can do this real quick. And I mean, just to give you an idea, you saw me top this off earlier, and we've already lost almost half the reservoir just in some leakage there. So it's a good idea to keep a lot of that .4 brake fluid or .5, whatever you care to use, on hand. And let's carry on. Alright, and just in case you were wondering, I forgot to mention the bolts on the back here that hold the retention clip. Those are 17 millimeter. And I've also put the hose or the brake line up a little higher and put some duct tape on it just to keep it from dripping a little bit less, because I already topped off the reservoir a second time and we're almost back down to the middle. So part of it is just because I'm making the video. This could go a lot faster and I'd use a lot less brake fluid, but want to help out any backyard mechanics or occasional mechanics. especially on these C4 Audis that are hard to find a lot of parts and videos and tutorials on. So hopefully this will help some people, even if it's something simple as this. I do have some other videos where I change the crank shaft positioning sensor, the cam shaft positioning sensor, did the timing belt tune-up, and some other things. So those are on my slot car channel that I have as a hobby shop, but you can find them on there as well. I'll include links. Let's continue on. Okay, so we got our bracket off, and as you can see, that's where they were kind of rusted in there, and some Loctite. And now the rotor is just gonna come right off like that, and then you've got your wheel hub there, and there's your original Audi number 57DX, which nice of the Germans to match that up with things like the caliper says 57. I'm sure there's some other parts that do as well, but I've gone ahead and taped this up really good and hung it up there so it's not going to drip, at least for a while, because I am going to be a little overly clean here, and I'm going to go take this into the shop to the grinder, and I'm going to brake clean it, grind it with the bench grinder, and get it all set to put on there so that it looks like new before we put the new rotor and caliper on. And basically then the process is just reversed. Now, one thing that you do need to remember, like these bolts here, the bolt that holds that, this is not a typical loosey lefty righty tighty. This actually goes the opposite way. So these turn right to loosen. Same with these. They turn counterclockwise or right to loosen, and then left to tighten. So that might be something helpful. It's one of those unintuitive things, but there are engineering reasons behind that. Part of which is to do with just the momentum of the vehicle, the wheels, braking system, and a lot of other boring engineering details that we don't need to go into for a simple brake rotor, caliper, pad, swap out job. And we'll probably do that brake hose later. Alright, let's go ahead and hit the bench grinder. Okay, a little bit of time on the grinder and some 2200 degree engine paint, and we've got a pretty nice looking new bracket, or what appears to be a new bracket. Definitely it's a little bit shinier than the caliper. So let's continue putting this together. Also, while you're in here, you can always check your bearings and the wheel hub, and I mean, most of this is just grime. You would think it's rust, but in actuality it's debris from the road. So time to carry on. Let's get this finished up. Alright, we've got our axle assembly prepped, and we're ready to stick the rotor on. And now we get to go get the bracket, mount that, and basically reverse the process we just did. So we'll carry on, and hopefully you guys are learning something here, or remembering. And this is, it works for a lot of different cars. Okay, so the bracket is installed along with the rotor. So next step is to put the caliper back on, and then we're going to go ahead and undo this and screw that to the brake fluid line on the new caliper, and we'll put the other pad in there and we'll be all set. So almost done, not too bad. Okay, I've got the tag for the core. Gonna put that in the bag and then put it in the appropriate box for the left front caliper, which is this one. And that's the new replacement, so this is the core for it right there. Okay, the caliper is back on, bolted down, dust caps are on, rotor's in. Now it's time to do the brake line right here, the one that we have hanging right here. And don't forget, we have to screw it in to the mount point here. Okay, and we're almost done. Okay, and we are all done. Sensor clipped in here, brake part here clipped in, and then car sensor clips into the brake pad sensor there. Line screwed in, harness bolt or assembly bolt is screwed in right there. Safety pin is clipped in, and we are all done. So that is it for the brake, rotor, caliper, pad change on a 1995 Audi A6 front wheel drive 2.8 liter C4 chassis. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like the channel for other videos, and be safe. Okay, so today we're gonna continue on and do the other side, the right, which can be denoted. The other caliper had an L, this one has an R, and the reasoning is the bleeder, it's always supposed to face upwards, so that's how you know if you got the right side or the correct side for the caliper that you're changing. Okay, let's go ahead and get on with it here. We'll pull the wheel off and get the other side done. Okay, one other point I discovered, even if you get a loaded caliper with bracket, they don't appear to come with the bracket bolts. These on the Audi here, they're the 17 millimeter. I cannot make out any type of part number, but they are 17 millimeter and about inch and a half, maybe inch and 3/4, and those are the ones that go in here to hold the bracket. Let's see, where's the other one go? Right here, I believe. Right there. Okay, if you can see it, right there, and then the top one is right there. So make sure that you don't lose those. I recommend cleaning them off with a grinder before putting them back on, just to keep them from getting stripped, and maybe give them a coat of some high temp paint. Okay, so we already learned yesterday on our brief little first part doing the driver's side front, that the calipers on that one they said 57, and on this one looks like they've got a 134 and 896. I'll have to double check if that corresponds to the one that was on here. The high performance rotors that I ordered for it, they don't have a number. The original Audi one has a E303B part number, and as you can see, yeah, they were, I mean, this could have been ground down. They're still pretty thick. That's well within tolerance for shaving it down, grinding it down at least once. But yeah, I figured while I was at it, I might as well just get everything all new and be done with it. So just before I finish up here, to briefly recap, the passenger side on a North American version is going to be the right side, and the driver side is going to be left, so it'll have an L there. Now let's take a look. The original caliper, now this one did have a crack seal, so yeah, it probably wouldn't have been a good idea to reuse this one. But this one, yeah, it also says 57, so I don't know why the replacement part is slightly different. The brand looks the same, that ATTA or whatever that is, but it doesn't say 57 like the other one. So we're almost done here. Just have to finish bolting on the bolt right here that holds the line. Also, yeah, make sure you don't lose that, because that's something that does not come with the caliper assembly, loaded, unloaded, whichever version you get. So just like these 17mm bracket bolts, there's 2 of those. They don't come with those, so make sure you keep those, and I cleaned them off and painted them just to keep them from corroding. Audi, as you can see, they use copper nickel lines, which, I mean, these are the original lines. This car's a 95, so we're talking 26 years old, and these lines are better than ones I've seen on 4 or 5 year old American cars. So this is rusting, this clip, and I do have the replacement hose for here because this little shroud is cracked, so I'm gonna change that out. That'll probably be another video, but as you can see, it's not that difficult. There's a clip here, and you unscrew the line from that hose, and there's a clip here, same thing, unscrew the line from the hose, and you do that, and that's pretty much the entire brake assembly on the front. And then here's the sensor wire. It clips into here, and then the one from the car clips into that, and it also holds in up here on the main strut housing there. So all in all, it's not too bad of a job. I mean, I've really kind of taken my time here just because I wanted to document this. There's not a whole lot of videos for the A6 C4 chassis, and a lot of the stuff applies to the previous 100 and the Audi 100, Audi 100C, Audi 100CS, and Audi 100CS Quattro versions that have the 2.8 liter V6. So be careful. There are multiple engines. I could probably include a picture of a chart. A lot of times they're going to ask you, is your 2.8 liter V6, is it a type A, type B, type C? And unless you really know your stuff, you're not going to know that. I had to call Audi of North America. I believe they were in Auburn Hills, and they had to look it up and got all my car's information, which is really fantastic that Audi, just like Mercedes-Benz, I know they do the same thing too, and I bet a couple other German manufacturers do as well, keep really good records of that. They were able to tell me which model it was, which type it was, what number of motors were produced, and which number mine was. So yeah, I really like these. I did previously have a 92 100 CS. I liked that car too, so that's why I got this one, and it's really worth keeping it running. So hopefully you guys found this handy. I might start a separate channel just for auto repair stuff and detailing tips and things like that of a full-scale car nature, as opposed to my main channel here, which is mostly for one of my hobby shop stores that's online. And that way you can kind of take your pick as to which one you want to subscribe to and keep up with if you need any help. Okay, let me finish this up, and I might do a closing video after that, and I'll also include some additional pictures and some links to some places where you can get parts. There's places like Auto House AZ in Arizona. They've been around for quite a long time, I think since like 1972, maybe even longer. Partsgeek.com. They were really good. They had an issue with shipping, pulling parts, and I talked to a supervisor, and the supervisor really did a good job of making things up for me. Had the correct parts to me in like 3 days from wherever they're at. So I was quite impressed with them. Rock Auto, I know they sometimes have some parts, but their site's a little bit more old school style. If you remember the early 90s when the internet first came out, it's almost kind of like that style. So I don't know if you'd like that, but I'll include a couple different links. I am not getting paid or sponsored from any of these companies, so this is all just my personal experience with these vendors and these retailers, and that is from a perspective of somebody that has done quality control at not just a call center level for nearly 10 years, but also someone that has done quality control and building for a computer company for over 7 years. So I have kind of a good mix there of manufacturing, customer service, and with my retired father owning a Mercedes dealership back when I was younger, I had a lot of time that was spent turning wrenches and sanding, painting, all kinds of fun stuff like that. I wish YouTube was around back then when I was growing up. It would have been really helpful. Okay, let me finish this up like I said, and I'll try to do a maybe an additional closing clip, and I'll include everything else in the comments below or in the notes below. Thanks for watching. Okay, so today we're gonna continue on and do the other side, the right, which can be denoted. The other caliper had an L, this one has an R, and the reasoning is the bleeder, it's always supposed to face upwards. So that's how you know if you got the right side or the correct side for the caliper that you're changing. Okay, let's go ahead and get on with it here. We'll pull the wheel off and get the other side done. Okay, we're all done except for the bleeding of the brakes, which you're either going to need a brake bleeder for or a second person to pump the brake while you release the air until you get fluid going from there. And this is a number 11 for this particular caliper on the Audi. And just kind of wanted to go over some of the bolts. Just like the lug nuts or the lug bolts on the wheels are 17 millimeter, so are the bracket bolts here and here. The one that holds the line on right back here somewhere. Where is it? Oh, let's see. Right there. That one is a 13 millimeter. So you're gonna need a 13, a good 13, a good 17, because usually these are torqued really tight. And then these little caps, make sure you put them back on, especially the bottom one. And be careful, because a lot of the replacement calipers, they don't come with the ones with this little hook. And that is to hold the wire for your brake sensor that runs up to here, to here, to here, and to the ECU. So I would recommend keeping the originals if you have them, so that you can clip the wire in there so your brake wire or brake sensor wire doesn't just float around. And then the bolts in here are a 7 millimeter 6-point hex. So you're going to need 7 millimeter Allen wrench. You're going to need 11 millimeter regular wrench. You're going to need a 17 and a 13 millimeter socket. I would also recommend a pry bar as well as a torque wrench to get your bolts back to proper spec, which I mean, you'll have to double check on your particular vehicle. I believe it's like 89 to 92 pound-feet on this particular one. And get some good needle nose pliers so that you can pull off the safety pin here. And then also it helps to get it put on, and that just rests on the outer part of the bracket on the top and bottom, and it clips into these holes inside the caliper. I would recommend just hooking it into the bottom, clipping that, and then clipping it in here, and then use your pliers to push until you can get it on the outer side here, and then just tap it, make sure it's nice and snug on there. Obviously this whole thing is not going anywhere if you've done it right. Otherwise, everything else should be pretty much covered now. So we've got our new caliper, our new rotor, new pads with sensors plugged in, lines tightened. Still have to replace this hose. I mean, it's not urgent. This is still pretty soft. Feels pretty good. It's just this outer shroud. It's bugging me. I've got the replacements already. Just need to put them on. So it's time to go ahead and pop the cap off the reservoir under the hood and go get my neighbor to help me bleed the brakes here. And that's just a simple pump, hold. While they're holding, you open this, and you keep opening and closing while they're pumping, and then holding until you got nothing but brake fluid coming out. So make sure you have enough of whatever it recommends. On this Audi, they recommend a .4 or better. So do not use .3. It specifically shows on the master cylinder not to use .3. So make sure you use .4 or better, maybe .5. But you know, .4 is what it calls for. Now I've already gone through one full bottle just because while I was doing some of the video clips, even with like a little cap and some tape on there, it was still dripping, which is why I had the oil drain pan underneath to catch it. So that should be everything. Obviously you're gonna need a jack, hammer. Sometimes parts are a little stubborn and you might have to, like, once you get the caliper loose, you might have to pry that off. Or you can use a long flathead screwdriver, pry it in there from top and bottom to get your caliper off. Now if you're just doing pads, that's what you would do. You would just loosen the two 7mm hex bolts here and basically unclip this, remove the caliper from the bracket, and then you could just change your pads, put it back on. Basically the same process that we've just covered. So that's a lot easier. I just wanted to get everything new, so that's why we did it this way. And again, this is for, I guess it would apply to the 89 or 90, 100, 100C, 100CS, and the Quattro versions as well, potentially. This is a 95 A6 2.8 liter V6 front wheel drive with it's the Type B motor. And again, like I said, I will leave some additional information on where you can find out. Audi says you can find the type number on the back of the driver's side head, but all I saw back there was the cam positioning sensor. There is no barcode, no etching, nothing cast into the head, and I did a pretty thorough look around, and yes, I checked both sides too. So that's why I had to call Audi of North America, which I'll try to remember to include their number in case you need help with yours. They're very helpful people there. And that should just about do it. So just bleeding the brakes, putting the wheel back on, and then we'll take it for a test drive. And then maybe next week I will do the hoses. That way I can wear the brakes in a little bit and make sure everything's okay when I double check everything and pull the wheel again. Okay, let's get the wheel back on after we bleed it here, and should be about done. Alright, so that is the brakes bled on both sides. The master cylinders topped off there to the max line. And that takes care of both sides. Not too bad. So we'll keep the old girl running a little longer, or in this case, stopping. And I hope you enjoyed the video. There's a lot of other things. I've changed the fuel filter. A couple other different things. They said the engine model type should be back here, but as you can see, all that's back here is the cam positioning sensor. And the crank positioning sensor is all the way down at the bottom. So, aside from calling Audi directly to get the model number for certain parts, which they will ask you for sometimes if they're good, if it's a good place, then you'll need to know that. This, even though it's a 2.8 V6, from 95. They made a whole bunch of different ones. I know for this particular one, there was at least 3 2.8 liters, plus a diesel, a 2.6 V6, and a couple others. The S6 variant had an inline 5 turbo. So a lot of work that you need to do in order to get the right parts, which that's half the battle right there. Tools, the right parts, knowing what you're doing, knowing what not to do, that all makes everything go a lot quicker. So thanks again for watching, and keep on learning, keep on remembering if you've already done this before and forgotten, and I'll see you on the next video.